Hi, it's Lauri, and today's episode is actually a guest spot of mine on Jackie Pilosoph's podcast for Divorced Girl Smiling. So I hope you enjoy this episode. It's a great conversation for those of you navigating divorce and any transition of any kind that puts your emotional state, your nervous system, your ability or inability to feel joy and peace in a deficit or a challenge, this episode is for you. I hope you enjoy the show and thanks for listening. And hey, if you don't mind, please like, share, and subscribe wherever you're listening or watching this episode. Thanks so much. Welcome to The Real and the Woo. I'm your host, Lauri Stern. Join me as I invite experts and friends to discuss a range of topics, from the factual and practical to the mystical and magical. Consider this your virtual happy hour filled with lively, authentic, and meaningful conversations meant to inform, inspire, and ignite your curiosity. Whether you are very real or super woo, this podcast is just for you.
Cannot wait to talk about what we're going to talk about today. And guess what it is? How to find self-worth, joy, and peace. 3 things that people who are thinking about divorce or going through one or after divorce are always wondering. Because obviously when you're going through a divorce, your self-esteem takes a hit. You also feel like maybe guilty, so you don't feel like you deserve joy, or you're just so sad that you don't know how to find joy. And then, of course, peace. My guest for this episode is Lauri Stern, and Lauri is an energetic wellness coach. She's the founder of Custom Designed Wellness, and Lauri does energy shifting and healing sessions, Reiki, energy readings, private yoga. She helps people find self-worth, joy, and peace through different modalities. Hi, Lauri.
Hi, Jackie. Thanks for
Thank,
having me.
thanks for being on the show. I'm so excited to talk about this because you have some clients who are divorced or going through one. And do you agree with me? They lack and want more self-worth, joy, and peace.
Absolutely. Whether they've initiated the split or it was initiated for them, your self-worth and self-esteem and all of the things take a hit when you're going through really any transition, but especially divorce.
It's
Hmm.
hard. Okay. Now, I want to tell everybody listening how we decided to talk about this topic. So, in my newsletter that went out today, the newsletter was called Are You Divorcing? 21 Things You Shouldn't Give an F About. And Laurie read the article and was like, hey, I was kind of triggered by some of these things, not in a bad way or a good way, just it caused some kind of reaction. So I got to thinking and I said, well, what do you mean? And that started our pre-podcast conversation that we're going to continue now. So Laurie, why don't you tell me like the first thing in the newsletter that triggered you? And
Yeah.
when I say triggered Laurie, she meant like if I was going through a divorce, this would trigger me.
Right. So what I was saying is that the article inspired me to want to have a conversation about how people going through divorce would maybe interpret some of these things, right? And then even in our pre-podcast chat, we were having different ways of looking at the same
Mhm.
sentence. So, for example, the first one is, Jackie wrote, some woman who you barely know calls and says, I heard you're divorcing. What happened? And why don't you, Jackie said that she was sort of writing it as if people were wanting the scoop, wanting the dirt. And I read it as someone who receives that call feeling like, annoyed because somebody wants to know the scoop or feeling judged just by being asked the question. And so what happens when we're going through a divorce, obviously you're in fear, you're in anger, you're in denial perhaps. And the people that you think are friends who might be asking the question because they want to offer support, you don't hear it that way. You hear it in how I described initially, right? And so that's what I wanted to talk about was, and then the other one that I just was talking about is you're waiting outside at your kid's school and you can sense other women whispering about you. And right there, I would ask the audience, how do you know they are talking about you? Well, you take it personally because you're already showing up vulnerable. You're already showing up feeling like the world knows your story. Not everybody knows your story. And Jackie, you said, for all you know, they could be talking about somebody else. But when we're going
Or
through, or something nice about you, like it's about
Or
fucking
they could
time you
be
got
talking
worse.
about you. They could be talking about you and saying, oh my gosh, did you hear Jackie's going through a divorce? What should we do? Should we go over there? I don't know. I don't want to upset her. I feel so bad. I want to go over and give her a big hug.
Yeah,
How do you know that it's gossipy and mean? We all
exactly.
assume that. Why do we just go there instead of
Right,
saying, these women might really care about me? Or they might say, oh my gosh, I'm so jealous. I want a divorce. She's so lucky. I wish I
right,
had the
right.
guts to leave my husband. So when you're going through a divorce, I believe self-esteem goes into the garbage can, and
Mhm.
anything that happens, you get triggered, you're sensitive, and you're just feeling like you wouldn't normally take these things so personally.
Right. Or maybe you always have taken everything personally. And that's part of the reason why you may be getting divorced, right? Because the world isn't always about you. However, if you're walking around wounded at all, then everything that is said to you is going to come from that lens of woundedness. So, like you said, people could be whispering in the kindest of ways, what should we get her? Should we send her flowers? Oh my God, look how amazing she looks. She has it all together. She's picking up her kids. I thought she'd be crumpling and like never leaving the house, right? So you just don't know. But if you are expecting the worst, you're going to receive it.
Of course. And okay, I'm just going to read, like, as you're talking, I'm looking at some of these other ones, trying to
Yeah.
see if they fall in the same bucket. So let's say you get this really mean text from your soon to be ex, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, he hates me. He's awful. I can't take it. Well, my whole thing was like, you shouldn't give an F about it, but that might sound insensitive. But now that we're talking about taking things personally, maybe your ex is in a super bad place or had a really bad day or lost his job or something really bad. Don't you feel like when people say or do something mean, 99% of the time it's about them, not the person they're doing it to you? Tell me about that.
Right. And there's a line, at least in my world, hurt people hurt people. No surprise. And so
Exactly.
you're right. Again, if we are walking around in a state of anger and fear ourselves, then whatever is being texted to you, whatever is being said to you, that is how you're going to receive it. And also, truth be told, depending on who initiated the divorce, you get that nasty text from your ex, and maybe you really don't give an F. You're just mad because you have every reason to be mad, versus trying to come from a place of compassion for what you described. Maybe he or she just lost their job, right? And so the first question is, why are you, the person reading it, taking it this way? Is that true? Do you care? And do you want to ask a follow up question or admit, hey, I'm taking this in a really mean way? Like, you sound really mean. Do you mean to be an asshole, or are you just having a bad day? I mean, we never take that step into having even that conversation. We read the text and we make assumptions. We either respond from those false narratives when really we could create a lot more healing and ease going through this process both ways. If you could just have an honest conversation, hey, I read it this way. Is that what you meant? And
Mhm.
maybe there's an argument. You always take my words that way, blah, 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 blah. Okay, maybe I do. I'd like to have a conversation about, I'm really trying to make a change here. And I want you to give me grace as I'm trying to make these changes because I'm not going to be perfect. But I'm noticing I always take things personally, or I'm noticing you always sound mean. And so just give people a little bit of a gut check and some flexibility because nobody's on their best game or operating from their best selves when going through these things?
Okay, I want to say two things in response to this. The first is when I said, like, maybe he had a really bad day. It's not about you. I didn't mean that it was right for him or acceptable to send a text like that. Whatever it was that was wrong, I'm not excusing the behavior and saying that it's okay. We have to set boundaries here, and he or she should not be sending really, really mean texts. And so it's not okay. But like
Mhm.
Lauri said, if you can get to a place where you understand where the behavior is coming from, you won't be angry. Instead, you're going to feel sorry for the person. And that's a really good place to get to. Instead of anger, just praying for the person and saying, you know what, I'm going to pray that he gets to a place where he's not going to send these texts anymore because he's really messed up. And the other thing I was going to say is you might say, well, this is just validation that getting out of the marriage was the right thing because this is
Mhm.
not acceptable behavior. So sometimes it's like God giving you a gift and saying,
Yeah.
here's your reassurance. You're doing the right thing.
Right. Right. And coming to those two different conclusions all has to do with where you are within yourself. So a healed person might be able to read into those things just the way you said. First of all, boundaries are huge. How do we set boundaries, especially when there's kids involved? You're, navigating whatever that situation is. Okay. And the validation for just what you said, like, I told you this guy was a jerk and here's proof. Okay. You also can still say to that text, you don't have to respond. If you've already established the boundary, don't send me these texts. And he or she continues to do that. Absolutely, you don't have to respond. Okay. But if it comes kind of out of left field, there is still a boundary. Hey, I don't deserve these kinds of texts. I won't respond to them. When you're feeling talking to me like a human being, let's have a chat. Okay.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
But even then, if you've been in a marriage that has been boundaryless, or you yourself, regardless of when you got married or to whom, came into that marriage already giving up of self because you thought that was the definition of what a good wife does, depending on how you were raised, you don't know the programming running behind the scenes until something happens. And then it all starts coming out. Like, I never knew what a wimp I was, or I never knew I lacked a voice, or I allowed people to talk over me because I didn't think I had anything to say, or I was afraid of getting into a fight. All of those things. You saw your parents fight, or the mother shut down, or the father leave the house. So all of those stories also come up to the surface when you are going through the situation.
You're listening to the Divorced Girl Smiling podcast. My name is Jackie Pilossoph, and I'm your host. And today we're talking about self worth, joy, and peace. How to get those back when you're going through a divorce. My guest is energetic wellness coach Lauri Stern, founder of Custom Design Wellness. All right. So let's talk about how a person gets their self worth back. Like,
Mm.
how do you go from that vulnerable, taking everything personally, looking in the mirror, not liking what you see, to, oh my gosh, I deserve a really happy life.
Yeah. That's so cute.
You go see
First,
Laurie.
yeah, well, of course, this is what I do. And it's funny, I was having a chat yesterday with someone and I have reframed my title from a coach or consultant to strategist because there's so many people now that I feel are a little triggered or put off by the term coach because everybody's a coach. Listen, we all are coaches, we're all leaders, and we all need to remain coachable. But the strategy is what we're talking about truly is how to create a program and a system that brings you back into your body, that brings you back into your sense of mattering and your self-worth. And we start from the ground up. So people come into me who are in this situation. Yes, the divorce created the avenue for exploration and curiosity and reality. And then we get to do the work of unwinding and uncracking some of the nuts that we've come into, not just the marriage, but the world with, and then rewriting those instructions, those programs, those settings for where we're going now. And divorce is one of those forks in the road. I was this way, and now I want to be this way, but I'm kind of stuck here. And so I do that in a variety of ways. First, trying to figure out where the self esteem took a tank. Was it the divorce alone or was it before? And then helping them with specific exercises, breathing. It's not always about yoga and movement. It can be. It's mostly just straight discussion, like therapy, but I'm not a trained therapist. And so my lens is my lens. My lens is the chakra system, but not everybody understands it. So I call them our internal instructions because we have internal instructions. And just like anything, do they work for us? And we're meant to understand them and learn to rewrite them.
Okay, so tell me about the people who come to see you that say, I don't really know what I want. I don't even know who I am anymore. How do you find that?
Mhm.
I know time has to go by. I know you have to,
Yeah.
like with time comes clarity. Like
Mhm.
some people go through a divorce and they break up and they run to therapy because they think it's going to help their pain. And what I want to tell people is I'm a big believer in therapy and coaching and everything, but it's not going to help you get over your divorce quicker. Only time can do that. And
Mhm.
with time, you gain all this clarity that you can't see in the first 2 weeks or even
Right.
maybe in a month, certain things you don't even realize till 6 months goes by.
And that's why in my own podcast, I have that segment. It's a special bonus segment called Why Not Me? And you're touching on it. When we go through something terrible, it's like, oh, why me? Why me? Oh, poor me. Victim, victim, victim. And that's true. And why not you? Who are you to think that life should give you an A and a path of ease all of the time? When life deals us a deck of cards that isn't so easy, we might not understand in that moment all of the lessons and the gifts in that situation, like divorce. But like you said, with time and perspective, you can look back and say, wow, I really dodged a bullet, or I have beautiful children with this person I wouldn't have otherwise. And if that's just the nugget of gratitude you need to carry you forward to be able to have family holidays with this person, then start there. So you ask, like, how do people get back when they don't even know who they are? First question I would ask is, who do you think you are? And then, who would you like to be? And if that's still unknown, that's okay. We develop, right? You come into the earth as a baby. You don't know who you are yet. And so it's like a rebirth, any sort of big transition, whether you're moving, changing jobs, graduating, whatever, you're empty nesting for the first time, which I don't call it that. I call it a full opportunity nest because it really is a full opportunity to decide and remember who you are if you're not this person. And that's really what happens. We get so caught up in the labels of life. I am a mother. I am a wife. I am a business person. I am this, 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 and this. And if one of those things is taken away, then we're left with, well, who am I now? If you've been operating under the assumption that you are those things, you are defined by what you do or what you have versus who you are, then any little thing that changes in your life is going to knock you off your game.
Also, you're changing and growing and figuring out who you are all the time, even when you're not going through a transition. You know,
100%.
that's why so many people get divorced because they change and they kind of grow in these different directions. And I hear that all the time. And so we are constantly growing, and the people I believe whose marriages stay happy are the ones who talk about the changes and see if their partner's open minded to it and say, this is how I'm feeling now. We used to do things this way, but now I want to do this. And if the partner is supportive, then the relationship is good,
Yeah.
because you're going to be changing forever.
Can we talk about sex for a minute? Because, listen, women going through menopause, That's a huge transition, and it's a very personal journey. Every woman going through it has different symptoms. There's brain fog, there's dryness, there's libido changes. Okay. And if you're a woman who was raised in a house that talking about sex in general is shameful, then how are you going to talk about your needs as they're changing with your spouse?
Also,
And
some women forget to tell their spouse, "It's not you. This
mhm,
is about me." And then the spouse is, "What's wrong with me? She doesn't want to have sex
exactly.
with me anymore."
Right,
So,
right.
yeah.
And change is hard for anybody. And listen, sex is a dance. And if you're used to having it one way and then you have to change it, whether it's time of day or position, and then you're suggesting that change, then the partner feels threatened. Just like you said, don't you like it this way anymore? What's wrong with me? That's a them problem. Your job having the conversation is to continue having it with kindness and love and patience and really try to drum the message, whatever the message is. Because the moment you open your mouth, depending on to whom you're married or divorcing, their wounds come up. Why is she criticizing me? When really you're not criticizing. You're trying to say, I want to continue having intimate relations with you, and I have different needs now. It's not about you. Can we work on this together? Right. So communication is huge. If you don't know that your voice matters or you don't feel like what you have to say will be heard or valued and you clam up, that's your problem.
Yeah, I want to move on to joy.
Okay.
How Tell me about these women who come to you and they say, like, "I'm just not happy. I'm so depressed." They're not getting joy out of life. How do you
Mhm.
find that?
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm not a medical doctor, and hopefully, women who are dealing with true depression and hormonal shifts that also impact their emotional state are getting that help. In addition, adding a layer like what I do is helpful
Mhm.
because joy is our birthright. Joy resides in our solar plexus chakra, which is our third wheel, and it's like the color of the sun. The solar plexus has everything to do with our ability or inability to make decisions. It's also where we feel and develop self worth. The one before it, the sacral chakra, also develops joy because joy is an emotion. And that's where our passions and emotions reside, is in our second chakra. So if there's a block between the two of them and going through a divorce shakes your foundation, your root chakra, you're literally maybe having to move homes. It's your safety and security financially take a hit as well. And anytime your foundation's rocked, if you think about our bodies as a house, the other floors are going to get wobbly. So the first place to look for joy is at your foundation. But if a client comes presenting joyless, which is often what happens, we start there. Okay, what used to bring you joy? How would it feel to experience joy? Because there's guilt involved. I don't have a right to feel joy. Shouldn't I look like I'm sad because I'm getting divorced? So there's, again, programming. Babe, if you initiated it, you have every right to be in joy about it. But there is guilt and shame in the community. Like, she shouldn't be so happy. Her kids are terrible and look what she did. But if it's a divorce put on you, you are sad, you are afraid, you are all these things. So the practice is making room for small moments of joy and building it and building it and building it. That's why I have in my show that break joy on the fives.
And making sure that you know that you deserve the joy.
All right, it's your birthright,
Yeah.
like I said.
Mhm.
Yep.
Love it. Okay,
Yeah.
last topic. Peace is huge. And people are always saying, "I need peace. I just want peace." And that's really a lot of the reason people get divorced, because they're like, "I'm sick of this toxicity. I don't want to fight anymore. I just want peace." How do you find peace with, like, dealing with the past, dealing with your decision to get divorced, and just in your new life moving forward?
Well, it's funny because the way I'm hearing peace is truly just contentment. And peace is subjective and objective. So, how do we find peace is subjective. It can be just waking up in the morning and creating a boundary of not checking your phone right away. Don't scroll. Don't brace or look for that email from the ex or that text from the ex. Sit with yourself before you wake up and create a boundary with your own energy. Just taking 5 deep breaths before you get out of bed will cultivate some moments of peace and doing that throughout your day, noticing why or with whom you tend to get in your head and out of peace and contentment is also important. And just making room for new practices, taking a walk or just sitting quietly for a few moments if you can. It just takes 5 deep breaths sometimes. Sometimes that's all we have time or desire for. And so, for my clients who are looking for peace, we define what that looks like for them because it is different for everybody.
Okay, so that's like short-term peace is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. But are you saying that if you do this on a regular basis, it's sort of like when they tell you like you're off the mat, you're just sort of feeling it all the time? It's like a good
Mhm.
practice. Okay,
Right.
but what about peace with the past? I have met divorced people who cannot stop talking about their divorce. And it's been like 5 years, some longer. And every time you see them, they make some comment about their ex, and you can tell they don't have peace. What
Mm.
didn't they do?
Well, they didn't clear the story. They're still stuck there. And so the practice and the work I do is to figure out why are they still stuck there? What is frankly entertaining them or giving them a sense of self-worth by regurgitating that story? And that's where those labels come in, right? If this is a person who really just can't let go of the past, to me, that looks like somebody who's still defining herself or himself by that story because it feeds something within them. And listen, sometimes when we're used to feeling shitty and that's all we know, feeling better is scary. I'm used to feeling shitty. I'm okay there, even though it's shitty. But changing that is really hard, but really valuable. Not easy, but always worth it. And so everybody's stuck somewhere. Divorce is one of the greatest gifts, again, of noticing where we're stuck. And you just described it, somebody who's still talking about it 5 years ago or still, stalking on social media, the new girlfriend or the vacation that you didn't get to go on and all of that. So we work it out. We talk about it. We work it out. You don't have to stay stuck. The reason you're stuck is because you are staying stuck. You have to take ownership of your part in how you're feeling. And my whole mission with people, besides helping them matter, is to empower them to matter. So, I'm happy to work with people once, like a one hit wonder. I work with people for a long time. My goal is to empower you to stand on your own 2 feet in your new version of your life.
Okay, you know what's so interesting? You just said that, and what I was going to respond to is say it's really similar to what you were saying. The way to find peace, I think, is to control what you can control and completely focus on you and your life. Of course, your kids, but like your life moving forward. You can't control that he has a girlfriend. You can't control that she now has an engagement ring on. You can't control that he looks happy or that he's not paying you when he should. I mean, you can control it. You can go to your lawyer. But what
Mhm.
I'm saying is, you can't control a lot of things, but you can control a lot of things. If you focus on the things you can control and work on those, I believe that brings people peace.
Yeah. I mean, your energy flows where your attention goes. And control also is in the solar plexus. So if you're stuck in control mode, then joy has no room.
I love this whole conversation. Laurie, thank you so much
Oh,
for being
thank
on the
you.
show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so grateful. And I hope this is helpful to people navigating divorce.
It definitely is. I hope everybody enjoyed the conversation. If you like what you heard and you want to have a consult with Laurie, you can find her at customdesignedwellness.com. You can also find her in the trusted professional section of Divorced Girl Smiling, which is divorcedgirlsmiling.com under energetic wellness coaches. She's the only one. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. We'll talk to you real soon.
Thank you.